Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So in the previous video, we talked about variables input and we also talked about how formatting using the f string. In today's video, we'll talk about conditional statement. So first, what is conditional statement? Conditional statement is where we take decision based on some properties. Like suppose we take it, if this happens, then we are going to do this, else we are going to do something else. So in programming also in Python, we can use some clause like if clause, else clause and else if clause, where we will decide what we'll do based on some condition. This is like how in our general life how you use conditions, right? Like if I'll go to the market, I'll bring vegetables. If I don't go, I'll slip, like this. So let's take an example. Suppose we have a variable called x equals to 2. Now to check if this 2 was an even or odd, let's do in a better way. Let's take the, let me comment out this. First we'll go through if clause. So let's take an input. So we'll take a number. You have already learned how input works, right? So in the previous class we have done how input works. If you haven't watched, please watch it. It's very important. Enter a number. Now how if clause work is, we write if. Okay. Now after if, we put the condition, like in what we want to check. Like we want to check if number is greater than 0. So what are the conditions that we can apply is like this. Either it can be greater than, it can be less than, it can be greater than equal, it can be less than equal, it can be equal. For equal we'll use double equal, since single equal means assignment, where we put something in a variable. So if you take both of the sides are equal, left hand side and right hand side, then we use double equal. So now we can say if number is greater than 0. So what we do, you write if. So if I say in general English, we write if, then we'll put the condition, then we'll put a colon. So since in Python we don't have curly braces, right? So how we format it, we use a colon, and when we come to the next line, we'll give a tab, the 4 spaces tab, and we'll write whatever the things we need to execute. Since we don't use curly braces, so the interpreter needs to know like these are part of same things. So and we write here the details, like if you want to print something. So then now here we can see if number is greater than 0, we put a colon and we say print it is greater than 0. Okay, so let's see, let's run this now. Let me go to my projects, YouTube, Python, and we'll run Python 03. So this is the name of the file, and we can see it says syntax errors because we did not comment out this. Let's comment out this and run this one more time. So it's asking, it's waiting for my input. You have already learned. So when we put an input, it will be waiting for a number. Now if you write here 12, so it says it's not supported between instance of string and int. In the previous this class, right, I've said you that when we take an input, it will always take as a string. So if you wanted to convert it into a number or float or simple a whole number, then you need to put it here. So we'll write int, and now what this will do, this is typecasting. This also we have done in the previous class. Please watch the previous class, since those things are stacked one upon another. So if you keep the base done properly, you can learn this very quickly. So now let's run this one more time. We'll enter a number 12, and you can see it is greater than 0. Now let's run one more time and put number like minus 12. Now you see it was not printed. It did not say it is greater than 0. Why? Because it did not meet the condition. So this number is not greater than 0, right? Minus 12 is not greater than 0. That's why we did not print this. So how so now if you wanted to see if it's not greater than 0, then we need to print something else. That is where the else clause comes into play. So what the else clause does is, it says if this is not true, right, what should I do? Then you can put else. So how this work is, you can write like this: if num, so now this one, right, if clause is here. Now we want the else clause to be coming here. So what we can do, let's write this one more time: if number is greater than 0, print greater than 0. Okay, or else else print no. So how this work is, as I said, first we'll put if, then the condition, then colon, then we take a tab and we write what we wanted to write. If you want to add something more, you can just go one step down, keep the tab. Okay, so the tab will work like how curly braces work from other languages. It will just keep everything under this if. So after putting all the things, right, so this is how the else works. So we need to put else in the same line where the if is. Okay, we can't put it inside this, since inside this it won't. Else is always comes after if is, after the if is declared. So if you do this should throw an error, since this else is without an if. So you can see it's invalid syntax. Why does it say so? So you can use else only after you have used if. We have used here if, but here the else is inside the if block. It's not under the if. It should be below the if block has done. So the else block, do else block only after the if block is done, then put the else here. Now there may be one more condition, like this number is greater than 0, right? Else we print no, but this number can also be equals to 0, and we want to check for that also. That is where we can use else if. So how else if works? Let me copy and comment this out, and let's put it here. So suppose if the number is greater than 0, it's greater than 0, else it is no, but this number can also be equals to 0, right? Like how will we do that? So in Python you can do this using elif. What does elif means? Elif means, what if this if is not correct, but there is one more condition you need to check if this is not correct. So there we can use elif. So elif also uses condition. So you can do number is equals to 0, and you can see equals to 0. So what elif does is, if the if is not true, then it will check for else if. It won't go to else. So how this works is, first it will go to if, then it will go to elif, then it will go to else. Now in the previous one there was no elif, that's why it's going from if to else. And you can't do only else, if is necessary for this to even come. This two cannot appear without if. So if is mandatory for this to even appear. Okay. Now let's see what happens. So let's run this. So it's enter a number. We entered 12. It says greater than 0. Let's do one more time. Let's say minus 12. It says no, it's not greater than 0. Now what if we type 0? So if we see 0, it says is equals to 0. So that is how we can use if, else if, else. Let me recap it once more from the top. So what is if clause? If clause works in if condition, then we do the to do part. So like what we need to do if the condition is correct. So, and how we did this? We checked here. If the number is, we enter a number, if the number is greater than 0, we print something. What if this condition is not true? You can put else. What does else do? If the if is not true and there is no else if in between, the else will start executing. But what if there are more than one condition? Then you can use else if. So let's take a proper example in this. So let's check if a number is even or odd. Okay, this is just an example. So let's take an example here. Let's bring this, let's comment this out and put it here. We need to check if this number is even or odd. So to be a number to be odd or even, we need to check what is the remainder. So in programming language, to find the remainder, you can use percentage symbol to find remainder. So how this works is, suppose a number, suppose it's 12, you do 12% 2. So what is 12% 2? It will divide this 12 by 2, and whatever the remainder is, right, it will put here. So this will be equals to 0. Why? Because 2 6 are 12 and there is no remainder. But if you do 13 divide 13% 2, this will be equals to 1. Why? 2 6 are 12 and there is 1 remainder. So now what we can do, we can check the remainder. So we'll put remainder equals number percent 2. Now we get the remainder. We know if the remainder is 0 when it's divided by 2, then it's an even number. So we say if remainder equals to 0, then we do print even. Okay, so if it is not 0, it is either 1, it's 1. So what we do, else we say print odd. Okay, so it's print. Now let's save this and run this one more time. So it's just enter a number. Let's enter 13. We know 13 is odd. Let's see what it prints. It prints odd. Similarly, we want it's 12. What is 12? 12 is even because 2 divided by 6 is 12. So it's even. So this is one more example where we can use this conditional statement. Now let's take an example for yesterday's homework. So I asked you to create a calculator like thing where we can add, subtract, multiplication, division. So let's create one more file where I'll try to solve calculator.py. We'll be using the concept that was discussed in the previous. Okay, so let's put, for the first one, let's do using variables and input. So why I'm doing this, so that you understand how we are progressing in the matter. So the first, what we're trying to do, we can write a print, and what this will do, print, this will take sum. Okay, then we take number 1 equals int input, enter first number. So what this will do, this will ask for first number. Similarly for number 2, we can say enter second number. Enter second number. Now we need to print the output. So what we can do, we can say print. We'll be using the f string that we have learned in this variables. Okay, in this variables and input. So what will be the sum of number 1 and number 2 is, what is this, number 1 plus number 2. Why I'm doing this, you'll understand in a bit, so that I can show you the progress we are making. Okay, so what this will do, let's run this. So we write Python and we say solve. So now it's saying it is sum. So enter first number, it says 12, enter second number 12, and the answer should be 24. It gives an error. It says number 2 is not defined. Did you mean number 1? So what we did wrong here is, like, we put both the input in the same variables. So we need a second variable. We'll say number 2. So let's save this and run this one more time. Sum plus 12, 12. And you can see the sum of 12 and 12 is 24. Now what we want to do, subtraction. For the subtraction, we need to copy all this to put here, and we write subtraction. Enter first number and the second. Subtraction, the difference of number 1 and number 2 is number 1 minus number 2. So let's comment this out, or let's skip it so that we can have both of them. Now if you run this, it says sum, enter first number, it's 12, second number is 12, sum of 12 and 12 is 24. Now it's subtraction, enter first number 12, enter second number 12, and what is the subtraction of 12 and 12 is 0. We can see the difference of 12 and 12 is 0. Similarly, you can do for multiplication and division, remainder, and all of them. But today we have learned about something called condition statement. So we know we can use if-else here. So what if we take the operator, right? What if we take the operator from the user itself to know, like, what they want to do between these two numbers, and based on that we'll do our thing. So what we can do, we can write here. So today we learned about conditional statement. Okay, so since we learned about conditional statement, what we can do, we'll take this number 1 and number 2, that is general. So what we can do, we can take this number, but we'll take one more called operator. What is operator? Operator is what, the sum, difference, multiplication, this also. Okay, so we'll take input, enter the operator. So let's take the operator in between so that it becomes easier. So operator, let's say them like what they can include. They can include plus, minus, multiplication, division. Okay, let's take this and put it in between. why we are doing this, I'm showing you the progress that we made. Here we used like two things in the two time, but now you can see here we did two times, right? We did for the sum, for the subtraction, but here now what we can do, we can just put this in the same thing, because now we know the operator that the user will enter, and based upon the operator we'll have to do. But in the previous one, suppose the user want to do subtraction, he can't do subtraction directly, he have to go through one by one. First he has to go through the sum, then only he can do the subtraction. So now we can do this. So let's see how we can do this. So what we can do, we'll say if, okay, operator, the operator spelling is wrong, so operator. Now we'll say if operator is equals plus. So now we know that user will enter plus, minus, multiplication or division. We'll say the sum, so we'll take the same thing from here and we'll just paste it out here, and we'll say the sum of number 1 and number 2 is number this. Else if, so we have learned else if, so if is not true, it will go to else if. Else if operator, its operator is equals to minus. Okay, if it's minus, then we'll say it's a difference. So we'll just print out this, we'll say the difference of this and this is this. Else, so suppose this is none of this, it's neither plus nor minus, we'll say to be implemented. Why? Because this is what you will be doing this time for homework. This was just a workaround to get you to today's homework. So what we can do now, how this will work, this will work, it will ask for number 1, then it will ask for the operator that they want to use, then it will ask for the second number, and based upon what the operator they used, the answer will be based on this. Let's run this, let's comment this out for now and run this. So it's asking enter first number, we said 12, it said enter the operator, so we'll say it's plus. Enter the second number 12. Now you can see it's saying the sum of 12 and 12 is 24. So the user is sure like what he wants to do. He don't have to depend on first sum then go to subtraction. He can do subtraction the first time. So let's do subtraction the first time. So enter first number, it's 12. The operator is minus. Enter second number is 12. And you can see the difference of 12 and 12 is 0. So that is what I want to say. We are progressing. This will even be more easier, where now we can form a full-fledged calculator. In the next one, when we learn about loop, there is something called loop, where we want to run the same thing again and again until the user say I don't want to run, just come out of that loop. So we'll be doing in the next class. So that will make this more interesting, since now we can do only one operation at a time, right? But what if we had the possibility of doing multiple operation, like we keep continuing and we want to do operation how much ever we like. That we'll do in the second class. So that was it for today. So I hope you understood what if, else if and elif can do. So now since we have all of this, let's proceed to GitHub. So so I just comment this out, but you can, whenever you use from GitHub, right, just comment it out, uncomment it and do this. Okay, so let's see here. So we read get status to see what are the files that got updated. So we say conditional statement got updated and we create a new file called solvecalculator.py. So we do git add dot means all the file. Then we do git commit -m and we say conditional statements. Since this was conditional statements, enter it. Then we do git push origin main and wait for it to be pushed to GitHub. So now when it's all done, then we can go to our GitHub, refresh the page and wait for some time. So since refreshing takes some time, so now you can see the conditional statement is here. Go to the conditional statement to see if whatever we learned today is on GitHub or not. Now you can see all this if, else, all are there, and we can even see the solve calculator, right? The solve calculator is also here. So that was it for today. I hope you understood something. So if you're enjoying it, you can keep the playlist in your library so that you can look back. If you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer that. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next.